Massive stones rise from the earth on every continent, silent and ancient. These megalithic structures are far more than just old ruins. They might be fragments of a single, hidden message left by our ancestors. This video explores a startling theory, a global megalithic code connecting sites from Stonehenge to Easter Island through shared patterns in their construction and alignment. By the end, you will see these monuments not as separate mysteries, but as pieces of a puzzle that could rewrite the entire story of early human civilization. How could cultures with no possible contact build with such similar precision? What forgotten knowledge was so important it needed to be carved in stone across the world? What does our deep past tell you about our shared human spirit? These colossal stones are known as megaliths, a word born from ancient Greek. Mega means great and lithos means stone. They are prehistoric structures built from enormous blocks, often fitted together without any mortar to bind them. You can find them on every inhabited continent, from the solitary standing stones of the British Isles to the immense dolmens of Korea and the mysterious pyramids of the Americas. They are all incredibly old, erected thousands of years before writing was invented. The scale of their construction is what truly defies belief. At Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, pillars weighing 50 tons were raised by hunter-gatherers over 11,000 years ago. In France, the Karnak alignments feature thousands of standing stones arranged in rows that stretch for miles. How did people with what we assume were simple tools achieve such feats of engineering? The precision involved is equally baffling. Stones were quarried, transported over great distances, and set in place with an accuracy that rivals modern construction. This points to a sophisticated level of social organization and technical knowledge that we are only beginning to comprehend. Why would cultures with no apparent contact, separated by vast oceans and different eras, all gravitate toward this same monumental style of building? It is as if they were all reading from the same hidden blueprint, a shared idea so powerful it was etched into the landscape across the globe. This recurring pattern is the first major clue that we are not looking at isolated projects, but at pieces of a single, vast puzzle. The sheer geographic spread of these sites creates a map of mystery. On a remote Pacific island, the massive moai stand with their backs to the sea. In the heart of Africa, ancient circles of stone mark the landscape. On the Mediterranean island of Malta, temples built from colossal blocks predate the pyramids of Giza by 1,000 years. These are not neighboring villages sharing ideas. They are worlds apart, separated by impassable mountains and trackless oceans, built by cultures that history tells us never met. Yet, look at the structures themselves. The dolmens of Korea's Ganghwa Island, massive stone tables, are nearly identical to those found on the coast of Ireland. The towering, pyramidal forms that define the skyline of ancient Mesoamerican cities seem to echo the same fundamental shape as the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs and the mountain temples of Cambodia. This is not a case of slight resemblance. This is a recurring architectural signature. How can this be explained? Conventional history suggests that ideas travel with people through trade or migration. But some of these sites are so old they predate the invention of the seaworthy vessels needed for such long-distance travel. The possibility this raises is profound. Could a single, incredibly ancient source of knowledge have inspired all of them? A forgotten parent culture whose influence rippled across the globe? Or perhaps these diverse builders were not in contact, but were instead tapping into the same universal understanding, a shared vision of the cosmos and humanity's place within it. which they then expressed through the most permanent medium they knew, stone. When you plot these monuments on a world map, the random scattering begins to look less random. It starts to resemble a conscious, coordinated effort, a planetary project whose true purpose we are only now beginning to decipher. These stones are not only aligned with the land, but with the heavens themselves. A silent conversation with the cosmos is built into their very foundations. At Stonehenge, on the longest day of the year, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting its first light into the heart of the stone circle. Thousands of miles away, the Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned to the cardinal directions with a precision that would challenge modern engineers, its sides facing almost perfectly true north, south, east, and west. This is not a coincidence. On the island of Malta, the Mnajdra temple's lower chamber is designed so that the rays of the equinox sun shine directly through its main doorway, illuminating the central axis. High in the Andes, the Incas carved the Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu, a sophisticated device that functioned as a solar clock, marking the changing seasons with shadows cast by the sun. How could cultures separated by continents and millennia all develop such an exact understanding of celestial mechanics? They were not just building monuments. They were constructing colossal calendars and observatories, using stone to pin down the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. This points to a shared foundational knowledge, a universal compass that guided their lives. The sun's journey and the turning of the seasons were matters of survival, dictating when to plant and when to harvest. But the consistency of these alignments suggests something more, a deep, spiritual connection to the cosmos that was expressed through their greatest architectural achievements. It is as if they were all reading from the same celestial map, a common language written in the stars. This shared astronomical code hints at a unified understanding of the world, a discovery that becomes even more compelling when we examine the mathematical principles etched into the stones themselves. These geometric patterns are not random. They are precise, repeating formulas found in the shapes of leaves and the spirals of galaxies. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a perfect example. Its base perimeter divided by its height gives a number very close to 2 times pi, the fundamental constant of a circle. This was built thousands of years before mathematicians formalized the concept. Across the Atlantic, the layout of the city of Teotihuacan in Mexico mirrors the same proportional principles. The Pyramid of the Sun there embodies the golden ratio, a specific proportion of about 1.618 to 1, which is celebrated for its aesthetic harmony in art and its frequent appearance in nature, from the arrangement of sunflower seeds to the curve of a nautilus shell. How could builders with no contact share this specific mathematical vision? It suggests they were not just stacking stones, they were encoding a universal language of form into the landscape. This shared code becomes even more intricate when we look at sites like the Karnak alignments in France. The seemingly endless rows of standing stones are not placed haphazardly. Researchers have noted that their positions might follow complex fractal patterns, where the same geometric relationship repeats at different scales, much like the branching of a tree or a bolt of lightning. This points to an understanding that the world is built on patterns within patterns. Were these sites designed to interact with the Earth itself? Some theories suggest these precise geometries were intended to resonate with natural energies, turning the monuments into vast harmonic devices. Whether the purpose was spiritual, scientific, or both, the message is clear. A common design philosophy connected these ancient minds, a philosophy rooted in the mathematical order of the universe. This silent language of number and shape is made even louder by the symbols these cultures carved into the stone itself. Etched into the stone itself, a second language waits to be read. Beyond the grand shapes and celestial alignments, the surfaces of these monuments are covered in a vocabulary of symbols. At Newgrange in Ireland, a massive entrance stone is carved with a complex series of spirals and diamond shapes. Thousands of miles away, in the deserts of the American Southwest, the same spirals and zigzag patterns appear on rock faces. These are not random scratches. They are petroglyphs and carvings that repeat with a startling consistency across the globe. A spiral might depict the swirling cosmos or the endless cycle of life and death. Zigzags could represent flowing water, a vital and sacred force, or perhaps the path of a serpent across the land. Concentric circles might symbolize the layers of the world or the ripples of a single event echoing through time. This was a pictorial lexicon, a way of writing without words that could be understood by anyone regardless of their spoken language. The consistency is undeniable. Inside the Gavrinis tomb in Brittany, France, the walls are a tapestry of curved lines and nested arcs. This same intricate pattern is found, line for line, inside the chamber of Michaud in Orkney, Scotland. They are separated by the sea, yet they are visual twins. In Scotland, you find cup and ring marks where a central indentation is surrounded by carved circles. Identical marks appear on stones in India. How is this possible? It implies that these symbols were part of a shared system of meaning, a kind of ancient visual code used to record essential knowledge. They may have told the stories of creation, mapped out important rituals, or even recorded astronomical events like the appearance of a comet or a supernova. Decoding these images is like trying to read the thoughts of the builders themselves. We begin to see that their world was interconnected by ideas, not by roads. And as we start to understand this shared symbolic language, a new question emerges. If their ideas and designs were so unified, could the very methods they used to build these structures also have followed a common, standardized set of rules? The stones themselves speak of a shared engineering language. From the Andes to the Nile, builders solved the same monumental problems with near-identical solutions. A technique called corbelling, where layers of stone are stacked, each one projecting slightly inward over the one below, creates towering, stable structures without any internal supports. You see this in the great tombs of Mycenae and in the underground chambers built by the Maya. Even more telling is the widespread use of polygonal masonry. At Sacsayhuaman in Peru, enormous blocks with complex, multifaceted edges are fitted together so perfectly that you cannot slip a blade of grass between them. This exact same puzzle-like precision defines the foundations of the Ramesseum in Egypt and the base stones of ancient Japanese shrines. How could such a specific and advanced method appear independently across the globe? It points to a universal understanding of stability and stress, a core set of principles for handling immense weight. This technological parallelism extends to the methods of construction. The evidence suggests the widespread use of earthen ramps, rollers made from logs, and simple lever systems to move these titanic blocks. The concept of the Cyclopean wall, built from gigantic, irregularly shaped stones that lock together through their own mass and geometry, appears in the fortifications of ancient Greece and then, strikingly, in the foundations of pre-Columbian cities in the Americas. These were not just practical choices, they were expressions of a master craft, a deep knowledge of how stone behaves under pressure and how to make it last for ages. The sheer durability of these structures, many still standing after thousands of years of earthquakes and weather, is a testament to their flawless execution. This was more than just construction. It was a sacred craft, a set of rules perhaps passed down through generations of apprentices in a long, unbroken chain of oral tradition. The builders knew they were creating for eternity, and to complete their vision, they considered not just how these places looked, but also how they sounded, engineering the very air within them to carry a message. The stones themselves were not just seen but heard. Recent acoustic research has uncovered a hidden layer of design in these ancient monuments, a deliberate engineering of sound that transcends cultures. In the underground hypogeum of Hal Saflieni on Malta, a complex labyrinth carved from solid rock, certain chambers are tuned to resonate at a specific low frequency. When a voice is chanted within these spaces, the sound does not merely echo. It amplifies, filling the entire chamber with a powerful, vibrating hum that can be felt physically in the bones. Studies suggest this resonant frequency could have subtly altered brainwave patterns, potentially facilitating meditative or trance-like states during rituals. This was not an accident, it was acoustic architecture. Across the sea at Stonehenge, some of the smaller blue stones ring with a clear, metallic clink when struck, almost like a bell. In Korea, the massive stone tables of certain dolmens create distinct echo effects, where a single sound is repeated in a way that feels both unnatural and profound. Why would builders go to such incredible lengths to shape the very properties of sound? It points to a shared, ancient belief in the tangible power of vibration. Sound was not just for communication. It was considered a creative force, a tool that could influence reality, heal the body, or open a doorway to the spiritual world. The presence of these sonic elements at sites separated by vast distances suggests our ancestors understood the universe not as a silent void, but as a humming, vibrating field of energy. They built their sacred spaces to interact with this energy, to harmonize with it. This leads us to the final, and perhaps most controversial, piece of the puzzle. If they could manipulate sound, did they also know how to shape other, more subtle forms of energy, turning their stone creations into powerful, earth-based technologies? This idea of stones interacting with unseen forces leads to one of the most intriguing theories of all. Some researchers suggest these sites are not isolated at all, but are instead connected by a vast, invisible web of energy lines stretching across the planet. They call these pathways ley lines, hypothetical alignments that are said to channel telluric currents, the subtle electromagnetic energies that flow through the Earth itself. According to this view, a place like Glastonbury Tor in England, with its distinctive terraced hill, is not just a random landmark, it is a powerful node where these energies converge. Similarly, the immense geoglyphs of the Nazca lines in Peru, those vast figures etched into the desert floor, might be more than mere drawings. They could be part of a massive schematic, a map of this planetary grid designed to be seen from above. Scientific measurements at ancient sites sometimes lend a curious weight to these ideas. At the Great Stone Circle of Avebury in the United Kingdom, researchers have detected localized anomalies in the magnetic field. The stones themselves appear to be subtly influencing the energy around them, almost as if they were acting as conductors or amplifiers. This concept, while debated, finds a powerful echo in the spiritual beliefs of countless indigenous cultures worldwide. Many traditions speak of a living earth, crisscrossed by spiritual pathways and dotted with sacred places where the veil between worlds is thin. The idea that ancient builders could perceive this sacred geography and deliberately place their monuments at these potent intersections is a compelling one. It implies a forgotten science of the planet, a way of mapping the world not by political borders, but by its inherent flowing energy. Were these builders not just architects, but also geologists and energy workers of the highest order, using megaliths as markers to tap into the Earth's own vital force? This profound possibility inevitably draws us into a deeper and more controversial question. If this knowledge was so advanced and so widespread, who exactly were the teachers? The notion of a lost world of master builders is one of humanity's most enduring legends. Plato wrote of a magnificent island called Atlantis, a seafaring empire of unparalleled knowledge and power that vanished in a single day and night of cataclysm. Similar stories echo across the globe, from the Hopi tales of previous worlds destroyed to the Vedic legends of advanced kingdoms lost beneath the sea. Proponents of the lost civilization hypothesis suggest these are not mere fables, but fragmented memories of a real culture. This precursor society, they argue, possessed a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, engineering, and geometry, which its members carried with them as they traveled the world. Before their own civilization met a sudden end, perhaps due to a great flood or a dramatic shift in the climate, they seeded this knowledge among emerging human populations. This could explain the most baffling archaeological anomaly, the sudden appearance of a site like Göbekli Tepe. Here, around 9,600 years before the Common Era, hunter-gatherers erected a complex of carved, T-shaped pillars weighing dozens of tons. This was thousands of years before the invention of pottery, writing, or settled agriculture as we understand it. How could such a monumental project be the work of a society we have always classified as primitive? The lost civilization theory offers a provocative answer that they were not working from scratch, but were students of a much older, forgotten teacher. The global consistency in astronomical alignments, polygonal masonry, and symbolic language could then be seen as the curriculum of that single, ancient school of thought. This idea fundamentally challenges the conventional timeline of human progress, which paints a slow, steady ascent from simplicity to complexity. Instead, it proposes a cycle, a great rise and fall, where knowledge was lost and had to be slowly, painstakingly rediscovered. Yet, mainstream archaeology remains deeply skeptical, pointing to a profound lack of evidence. No submerged cities, no tools, and no genetic trail convincingly point to this global parent culture. The absence of such proof is a significant hurdle. This brings us to the crucial counterpoint, the powerful possibility of independent innovation. Could the human mind, when faced with the same fundamental challenges and inspired by the same sky, simply arrive at the same magnificent conclusions time and again? Skeptics offer a powerful counterargument to the idea of a single lost teacher. They point to the universal logic of the human mind itself. When faced with the same fundamental challenges, different cultures may simply arrive at the same brilliant solutions. Think of the pyramid. Its wide base and narrowing peak is the most stable structure for building tall with heavy materials like stone. Cultures in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Americas, all wanting to reach for the heavens, could have independently discovered this architectural truth. This is known as convergent evolution, a principle we see throughout history. Just as birds, bats, and insects all separately evolved wings for flight, human societies could have developed similar technologies in isolation. The need for a durable tomb that would stand for generations would logically lead to massive stone construction. The desire to track the seasons for survival would naturally guide any careful observer to note the sun's precise rising and setting points on the horizon, leading to the creation of stone circles as giant calendars. This perspective suggests that megalithic building is not evidence of a shared source, but a testament to the shared ingenuity of humanity. We can see this pattern in other great human inventions. Agriculture sprang up separately in at least 7 different regions of the world, from the Fertile Crescent to the highlands of New Guinea. The complex system of writing was invented independently in Mesopotamia, China, and Mesoamerica. In each case, different people with no contact solved the same basic problem. So, could the global spread of megaliths be another magnificent example of this independent spark? Yet, for many, the evidence pushes beyond simple practicality. The identical mathematical constants encoded in pyramids an ocean apart, the exact same intricate spirals carved into tombs in Scotland and France, the shared understanding of complex acoustic principles, these feel like more than just parallel ideas. They feel like a curriculum. The sheer precision of the astronomical alignments goes far beyond marking the solstices. It reflects a deep, systematic knowledge of celestial cycles that would take centuries to develop. This creates a fascinating tension. On one hand, we have the undeniable power of the human mind to innovate. On the other, we have a body of evidence that points to a startlingly unified ancient worldview. To resolve this, we must look closer, comparing specific sites that seem to whisper to each other across impossible distances. The evidence becomes undeniable when you place a map of European megaliths beside one from Asia. The sprawling stone rows of Karnak in France, with their thousands of menhirs marching toward the horizon, find a curious echo in the dense clusters of dolmens on Korea's Ganghwa Island. These are not just vaguely similar monuments, they are architectural siblings. The classic Korean dolmen, with its massive capstone resting on several supporting stones, creating a stone table form, is virtually identical to the table dolmens found across Brittany. Even more telling is what lies beneath them. Both in Europe and in Korea, these structures often mark burial sites, and the artifacts recovered from within them, such as specific styles of polished stone axes and distinctive pottery, show a remarkable overlap in design and craftsmanship. This is no longer just about the stones themselves. It is about the entire cultural package that accompanied them. The connections stretch even further. The great stone circles of the British Isles, like Avebury or Callanish, are not unique to that archipelago. In the remote highlands of the Caucasus Mountains, between the Black and Caspian Seas, ancient builders erected stone circles of their own, with layouts and astronomical sightlines that feel strangely familiar to those in Scotland and Ireland. How can we explain this? The vast Eurasian landmass was not an impenetrable barrier. For millennia, it functioned as a superhighway for ideas. While direct contact between Britain and Korea seems unlikely, the movement of people and knowledge along interconnected trade routes, like the later Silk Road, or through gradual migratory waves, could have slowly disseminated this megalithic knowledge over centuries. A tool-making technique perfected in one region could travel, adopted and adapted by the next community, eventually influencing how stones were shaped thousands of miles away. A burial ritual involving a specific type of dolmen could spread, carrying its symbolic meaning across continents. This regional analysis suggests a web of cultural exchange, a slow-motion conversation across the ancient world where core ideas about death, the cosmos, and monumental building were shared and refined. This interconnected heritage in Europe and Asia presents a powerful, logical model. But this model is about to be profoundly tested as we cross the greatest barrier of all, the vast and seemingly uncrossable Atlantic Ocean, to examine the monuments of the Americas. The evidence from Europe and Asia presents a compelling case for slow cultural exchange across a connected landmass, but this logical model faces its ultimate test when we cross the Atlantic. In the Americas, a separate human story unfolded, yet the architectural language spoken by its stones feels hauntingly familiar. In the sweltering jungles of Mexico, the Olmec civilization carved colossal heads from solid basalt, each one a portrait of immense power and individuality, weighing up to 50 tons. Far to the south, in the high Andes, the Inca built fortresses like Sacsayhuaman with stones so perfectly fitted they defy explanation. These are not just isolated wonders. They are part of a pattern that mirrors the old world with an uncanny precision. At the ancient city of Tiwanaku in Bolivia, the famous Sun Gate is a single block of stone intricately carved with a central deity and flanked by rows of winged figures. On the equinox, the rising sun aligns directly with this central figure, casting its first light through the gateway in a celestial event that would feel completely at home at Stonehenge or Newgrange. The builders of Tiwanaku, like their counterparts in Europe, were using stone to capture a moment in the sun's eternal cycle. The technological parallels are just as striking. At the Inca site of Ollantaytambo, you find the same mastery of polygonal masonry seen in Egypt and Japan. Enormous blocks with multiple, complex angles are joined together like a three-dimensional puzzle, a technique that provides immense seismic stability. This was not a simple solution. It was a highly sophisticated and specific engineering choice repeated across the globe. The legends surrounding these sites add another layer of mystery. Many Native American tribes, from the Hopi to the Choctaw, have oral traditions that speak of a time when giants or god-like beings walked the earth and built these immense structures. This is a direct echo of European folklore, where legends often credited giants or a mythical race with the construction of megaliths. These shared myths suggest a common human response to the awe these ruins inspired, or perhaps a fragmented memory of the builders themselves. The achievement in the Americas is magnified by a unique challenge: the complete absence of draft animals like the ox or the horse, and the wheel. This means every multi-ton block at Ollantaytambo or every Olmec head was moved by human muscle, ropes, and levers alone. The scale of labor organization this required is staggering, pointing to societies with advanced social structures and a unified, long-term vision. These are not the marks of isolated, primitive cultures. They are the hallmarks of master builders who, despite being separated by the world's largest ocean, were working from a similar, profound understanding of the world. The sheer weight of these similarities forces a difficult question. Could this shared blueprint be the result of something more than independent genius? Could there have been a connection across the waters long before we thought possible? The ocean was not always the barrier we imagine. What if ancient mariners, long before Columbus, navigated these vast waters carrying ideas as cargo? The possibility of pre-Columbian transoceanic voyages offers a tangible, if controversial, explanation for the global megalithic code. Consider the Phoenicians, legendary seafarers of the Mediterranean, whose ships might have ventured far beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Or the Polynesians, who mastered the Pacific, using the stars and wave patterns to settle islands across an area larger than any continent. Their voyages were not just journeys of survival, but potential conduits for a shared architectural language. The evidence, while debated, is tantalizing. The sweet potato, a crop native to the Americas, was found across Polynesia centuries before European contact. Even more startling, traces of substances like nicotine and cocaine, plants exclusive to the New World, were identified in Egyptian mummies. These biological clues hint at ancient, intercontinental trade networks that history books have largely overlooked. The megalithic builders themselves left hints of their maritime culture. In the Petroglyphs of Scandinavia, you find detailed carvings of large, seaworthy vessels. Similar ship motifs appear on stones in the Pacific Islands. These were not canoes for coastal fishing. They were symbols of deep water capability, a declaration that the sea was a highway, not a wall. If such voyages were possible, the transfer of a core idea, like the stepped pyramid, becomes far less mysterious. This distinct design, with its receding tiers reaching for the sky, appears in the ziggurats of Mesopotamia and the temples of Mesoamerica. It is a specific architectural concept, not a simple, universal shape. Could it have been a blueprint that traveled? The theory gains further traction from modern genetic and linguistic studies. Researchers have noted unexpected genetic markers shared between remote populations in the Americas and parts of Asia and Oceania. Certain words and mythological themes, like the story of a great flood or a divine feathered serpent, echo across these distant lands. This does not necessarily mean a single fleet colonized the world. It suggests a slow, sporadic, but persistent exchange, where knowledge of stoneworking, astronomy, and sacred geometry was a precious commodity traded along with spices and shells. This opens a profound door. If ideas could travel across oceans, they were likely preserved and transmitted not in books, but through the most resilient human technology of all, the spoken word. These stories were not just entertainment, they were living libraries. Across the globe, the same archetypal figures appear in the myths surrounding these ancient sites. In Ireland, the Great Tomb of Newgrange is said to be the home of the Tuatha De Danann, a godlike people of immense skill and knowledge who arrived in clouds of mist. Far away in the Andes, the creator god Viracocha is described as a wise teacher who designed the city of Tiwanaku and instructed its first inhabitants in the arts of civilization. Giants are credited with building Stonehenge, while in Mesoamerica, the Great Pyramid of Cholula was supposedly raised by a race of giants before a great flood. Why would cultures with no contact all tell such similar stories? These narratives may have served a crucial, practical purpose. Before writing, complex information had to be memorized and passed down accurately through generations. Wrapping technical knowledge in a compelling story about gods and giants made it unforgettable. A myth about a sky god placing the sunstone might encode the precise solar alignment of a monument. A legend about a hero's journey could secretly describe a forgotten trade route for sourcing specific types of stone. The rhythm and repetition of oral poetry could preserve complex astronomical cycles or engineering ratios with perfect accuracy for centuries. This transforms these myths from mere folklore into potential instruction manuals disguised as epic tales. The global consistency of certain story types is itself a powerful clue. Nearly every culture has a version of a great flood, a narrative that could be a collective memory of rapid sea level rise at the end of the last ice age. Widespread stories of sky gods who bring knowledge and then depart across the water might be a symbolic record of ancient seafaring teachers. By analyzing these tales not as literal truth, but as coded repositories of information, we begin to hear the whispers of the builders themselves. They are telling us what they valued, what they feared, and what they knew. They built in stone, but they entrusted their deepest wisdom to the most resilient material of all, the human voice. This profound connection between story and stone points toward the ultimate purpose of these places, a spiritual function that united the physical and celestial worlds into a single, sacred reality. These silent stone sanctuaries were far more than feats of engineering. They were sacred spaces built to bridge the world of the living with the realms of the divine. The Great Passage Grave at Newgrange in Ireland offers a perfect window into this spiritual purpose. Each year, at dawn on the winter solstice, a narrow beam of sunlight pierces a specially designed opening above the entrance. This single shaft of light travels down a long, dark passageway, illuminating the inner chamber for just 17 precious minutes. In the heart of that eternal darkness, the returning sun proclaimed a powerful message of rebirth, a promise that the long winter would end and life would begin anew. This was not merely a celestial clock. It was a profound ritual, a direct communion with the cosmic cycle of death and regeneration. We see this identical theme etched into the very shape of the Egyptian pyramids, those monumental tombs designed to launch a pharaoh's soul on its journey to join the eternal stars. Both cultures, worlds apart, used stone to express the same fundamental hope, a belief in life beyond the visible world. this spiritual unity echoes across the globe. On the island of Honshu in Japan, the Oyu stone circles were not built as fortresses or homes. Their concentric rings of river stones were carefully arranged as a stage for community rituals, a purpose that resonates deeply with the great henges of Britain. While separated by vast continents, both sites served as focal points where people gathered to reaffirm their connection to each other and to the forces that governed their lives. The presence of burial remains within so many of these structures, from the dolmens of Korea to the temple complexes of Malta, points to a shared belief in an afterlife. These were not just tombs for the deceased, they were resting places, portals where the living could communicate with their ancestors and ensure their safe passage to the next world. The cosmological significance was immense. By aligning their greatest works with the heavens and interring their loved ones within them, our ancestors were mapping the universe itself. They saw the earth, the sky, and the underworld as interconnected layers of a single, sacred reality. The megalith was the anchor point, the axis where all these worlds met. This deep, spiritual function transformed these sites into the very heart of the community, drawing people together for more than just ceremony. They became the original town squares, the hubs where society itself was woven into the fabric of the cosmos. These stones were the heartbeats of their communities. The very act of building them required a monumental collective effort, a shared labor that wove scattered families into a unified society. Imagine the social landscape of a place like Malta 5,000 years ago. At the temples of Haga Kim or Tarxian, the air would have been thick with the sounds of a society at work. Quarry workers expertly fractured limestone from nearby outcrops, haulers coordinated to drag the massive blocks on rollers, and master builders directed the precise placement of each stone. This was not the work of a few individuals. It was a civilizational project that required the entire community, a collaboration demanding planners, toolmakers, food providers, and spiritual leaders. The evidence for this is etched into the landscape itself. At these Maltese temples, archaeologists have uncovered vast quantities of animal bones and pottery shards, the clear remnants of enormous communal feasts. These were not just meals, they were celebratory events, likely held to mark the completion of a building phase or a seasonal festival, reinforcing the bond between the people and the sacred space they were creating together. This social function transforms these sites from silent monuments into vibrant hubs of ancient life. At Stonehenge, the long, processional avenue leading to the river Avon suggests formal, ceremonial marches. People would have gathered from across the region, walking this prescribed path toward the Great Stone Circle, their journey a physical and spiritual preparation for the rituals to come. In India, countless megalithic sites, particularly the stone circles of the Deccan Plateau, are found at the territorial boundaries of ancient tribes. They served as permanent, unshakable markers of identity and as neutral ground for inter-community meetings, trade, and conflict resolution. The construction of a megalith was, in itself, a powerful act of community definition. It required a shared vision that spanned generations, a long-term commitment that could only be sustained by a highly organized society with clear roles and a common purpose. This level of organization implies specialized knowledge, from the astronomers who determined the alignments to the engineers who understood leverage and stress. The result was more than a building. It was a physical manifestation of social cohesion, a testament to what humans can achieve when they work together toward a single, transcendent goal. The ideas that spread across continents were likely carried along these very social networks, exchanged during seasonal gatherings at these central places. As we stand before these ruins today, we are not just looking at stones, we are witnessing the enduring record of a community's greatest achievement, a legacy carved not just in rock, but in the very idea of society itself. Their endurance is a silent challenge to time itself. These megaliths have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, withstood countless earthquakes, and endured millennia of harsh weather, yet they stand. This incredible longevity is not a happy accident. It is the direct result of choices made by the builders, choices that reveal a profound understanding of their materials and environment. Consider the blue stones of Stonehenge. Their journey began in the Preseli Hills of Wales, a distance of over 150 miles. This was not a simple matter of finding any large rock. The builders went to extraordinary lengths to quarry and transport a very specific type of stone, a spotted dolerite known for its exceptional hardness and resistance to weathering. Why this particular stone from that distant mountain? Perhaps it held a sacred significance, a spiritual power they believed was essential for their circle. Or maybe, on a purely practical level, they understood through generations of experience that this specific rock would last, that it would hold its form and its carvings for thousands of winters. This deliberate selection is a global pattern. In Egypt, the granite used for the sarcophagus inside the Great Pyramid is far harder than the surrounding limestone, a conscious choice to protect the most sacred space within the tomb for eternity. The builders were not just stacking rocks, they were curating materials for immortality, and the stones themselves show signs of an even deeper care. Look at the hieroglyphs inside the Great Pyramid. Many are as sharp and clear as the day they were carved, despite being exposed to air and moisture for thousands of years. This lack of erosion is baffling. Some researchers suggest the ancient Egyptians may have applied a protective coating, a lost recipe that sealed the stone against the elements. Others point to the precise placement of certain chambers, designed in a way that minimizes wind and water damage. They were not just building structures. They were preserving a message. This meticulous preservation is what allows our own technology to now interrogate these sites. Modern tools like LiDAR, which uses lasers to map the ground from the air, and ground-penetrating radar, which sends signals deep into the earth, are acting as digital keys. They are unlocking secrets the builders may have never intended for us to find. In the jungles of Guatemala, LiDAR has revealed entire Mayan cities hidden beneath the canopy, complete with networks of roads and reservoirs we never knew existed. At Stonehenge, ground-penetrating radar has detected a hidden circle of massive pits surrounding the monument, suggesting its sacred landscape was far more extensive and complex than the stones we see today. Each new scan, each new digital map peels back another layer of time. The stones have kept their secrets well, but they are beginning to speak, and as they do, we are forced to confront the most humbling question of all. What does this enduring legacy, this message carved for the ages, ultimately say about us? These ancient stones are finally beginning to speak, not in whispers, but through the clear language of data. Modern science is handing us the tools to read their long, silent story. Radiocarbon dating, which measures the steady decay of carbon in organic materials, allows us to assign precise ages to charcoal, bones, and seeds found at these sites. This single technique has repeatedly upended our timelines. For instance, the staggering age of Göbekli Tepe was confirmed this way, pushing back the dawn of monumental architecture far earlier than anyone had believed possible. But the revolution does not stop there. Imagine being able to map an entire city without ever breaking ground. LiDAR technology does exactly that, using lasers fired from an aircraft to penetrate dense forest canopies. In the jungles of Guatemala, these scans revealed the sprawling, hidden metropolis of the Maya, complete with pyramids, causeways, and reservoirs laid out in a sophisticated, planned grid. This showed us that what we thought were isolated temples were actually the cores of vast urban centers, all built around a megalithic heart. The stones were not standalone monuments, but part of a grand, coordinated design. Even the bones of the builders themselves are now telling their stories. By analyzing ancient DNA recovered from skeletons within megalithic tombs in places like Ireland and Sweden, researchers have made a profound discovery. The individuals buried together were often close relatives. This suggests that these massive projects were not the work of anonymous slaves, but of tight-knit family groups, perhaps clans who passed the sacred craft of stoneworking down through generations. We can even trace their journeys. Isotopic analysis, which reads the chemical signature locked inside a person's teeth or the stones themselves, acts like a geological passport. It can reveal that a person buried at Stonehenge grew up hundreds of miles away in the mountains of Wales, or that the blue stones used there were indeed quarried from that very same distant range. This confirms the incredible scale of their endeavors, proving they moved both people and materials across vast landscapes. Each technological advance helps to separate fact from fascinating fiction. For centuries, the 13 towers of Chanquillo in Peru were a mystery. Then, with precise archaeoastronomical surveys, researchers confirmed they form a sophisticated solar calendar, accurately marking the sun's passage throughout the year. This was not a theory anymore, it was a measurable, demonstrable fact. Similarly, ground-penetrating radar has debunked the idea of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx, while confirming the existence of unknown voids within the Great Pyramid. The scientific method is systematically testing our oldest legends and our newest hypotheses. When we combine these threads of evidence, the picture that emerges is startling. The similarities in design, the shared astronomical knowledge, and the parallel social organization across continents begin to look less like independent invention and more like a widespread cultural phenomenon. It suggests a level of coordination in ancient thinking that we are only beginning to appreciate. This growing body of hard evidence does not just add pieces to the puzzle. It forces us to consider that the puzzle itself is much larger and more interconnected than we ever imagined, compelling a complete reevaluation of how we view the timeline of human achievement. The ground beneath our feet holds secrets that rewrite the stories we tell ourselves. For generations, a core belief shaped our view of human history, that the invention of agriculture came first, allowing people to settle down, and only then did they have the time and resources to build great monuments. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe shattered that timeline. Dated to around 9,600 years before the Common Era, this breathtaking complex of carved, T-shaped pillars was not built by farmers in a settled village. It was the work of hunter-gatherers, people we have long considered nomadic and simple, yet they organized to erect stones weighing 50 tons, carving them with intricate depictions of animals and abstract symbols. This single site turns the traditional sequence on its head. It suggests that the drive to create monumental, sacred architecture may have been the very spark that brought people together, the catalyst that eventually led to farming and settled life. This is not a minor adjustment to history, it is a fundamental rewrite of the origins of civilization itself. The implications ripple across the globe. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, mysterious, terraced stone structures lie submerged beneath the waves. Their precise, angular forms and massive blocks suggest they are not natural formations, but the work of human hands. Geological studies suggest these structures were last above water at the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago. If this dating is correct, it points to a world where sophisticated builders were active at a time when sea levels were dramatically lower and vast coastal plains, now lost to the ocean, were home to unknown cultures. These underwater ruins are ghost maps of a forgotten world, hinting at entire chapters of human achievement erased by rising waters. What does this mean for our understanding of the past? It forces a profound humility. The timeline we have carefully constructed, with its steady progression from simple to complex, appears incomplete. These discoveries suggest cycles of rise and fall, of knowledge gained and lost on a scale we are only beginning to comprehend. The consistent patterns we see in megaliths worldwide, from their alignments to their masonry, may not be the result of independent genius alone, but fragments of a much older, shared heritage, a legacy from a time before the seas rose. Accepting this revised narrative transforms our ancestors from primitive figures into profound visionaries. It asks us to see their world not as an empty wilderness, but as a landscape dotted with sophisticated centers of learning and spirituality, some of which now sleep beneath the waves. This is not about finding a single lost city like Atlantis, but about recognizing that the tapestry of prehistory is far richer, more complex, and more interconnected than we ever dared to believe. These stones are not merely relics to be studied, they are living ancestors. For many indigenous communities around the world, megalithic sites remain deeply sacred, woven into the very fabric of cultural identity and spiritual life. Aboriginal Australians understand the intricate stone arrangements that dot their land as part of the Dreamtime, the eternal era of creation. These are not random piles of rock. They are the physical footprints of ancestral beings, a living library of lore and story. In Hawaii, the massive stone platforms of Heiau temples are not ruins but revered spiritual centers, places where the energy of the land, the sea, and the divine converge. To stand within one is to participate in a lineage of practice that views the stone itself as a conscious partner in ceremony. This perspective offers a dimension of understanding that pure archaeology can easily miss. It reveals that these places were not just built for observation, but for relationship, a profound connection between people, their land, and their memory. The stones served as permanent anchors for oral histories, ensuring that the knowledge of who they were and where they came from would never be erased. This worldview challenges the objectifying gaze of traditional science, suggesting we listen to the sites as much as we measure them. Yet, the history of megalithic research is often shadowed by a colonial past. There are countless instances where sacred artifacts were taken from their homes to be displayed in distant museums, or where sites were excavated without the consent or even the knowledge of the descendant communities. This approach treated these profound cultural treasures as mere curiosities, severing them from the living traditions that gave them meaning. It was a form of intellectual displacement that caused deep and lasting hardship. Today, a vital and growing movement seeks to redress this legacy. Archaeologists and historians are increasingly turning to collaborative models, working directly with indigenous elders and knowledge keepers. The goal is no longer just to extract data, but to partner in preservation and interpretation. This means that when a site is studied, the community has a central voice in how it is done, what stories are told, and how its spiritual significance is protected. This inclusive approach does more than just correct an ethical wrong. It fundamentally enriches our comprehension. It allows for a more complete story to emerge, one that blends the precision of carbon dating with the wisdom of a 1,000-year-old song. It reminds us that the true meaning of these monuments is found not only in their alignment to the stars, but in their enduring connection to the human spirit. This collaborative spirit is helping us see the global megalithic code not as a dead language, but as a living conversation, one that continues to shape identities and inspire wonder in our modern world. This growing reverence for ancient sites comes with a profound responsibility. As public fascination with megaliths reaches new heights, these timeless places face very modern threats. The stone pathways of Machu Picchu, designed to last for millennia, are now experiencing visible wear from the sheer volume of visitors. In more remote locations, unprotected dolmens and burial chambers are targeted by looters seeking artifacts, severing the vital connection between an object and its original resting place. The challenge is a delicate balancing act, one that weighs the desire for scientific discovery against the imperative to honor local beliefs and protect these sacred spaces from becoming mere tourist attractions. This extends beyond physical preservation into the realm of ideas. Throughout history, the mystery of the megaliths has sometimes been twisted to serve political or nationalist agendas. Certain groups have falsely claimed that only a specific race or culture possessed the genius to build them, creating a distorted narrative of racial superiority that the stones themselves, in their global diversity, completely refute. These pseudoscientific claims ignore the overwhelming evidence of shared human ingenuity. The path forward requires a collaborative spirit. It means that archaeological teams now increasingly partner with the descendant communities for whom these sites are not ruins but living heritage. Decisions about research, preservation, and access are made together, ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge does not come at the cost of cultural disrespect. This ethical approach transforms the study of megaliths from a one-sided examination into a meaningful dialogue. It ensures that the legacy of these monuments is handled with care, protecting them not just as relics of the past, but as active teachers for the future. This careful, respectful engagement with our shared heritage is what finally allows us to hear the true message the builders left behind, a message about the fundamental unity of humankind. These ancient stones are a testament to a shared human spirit. The global megalithic code is far more than a collection of coincidences. It is a profound symbol of our unity. Across every continent, separated by oceans and millennia, our ancestors felt the same fundamental drives to create something permanent, to explore the mysteries of the heavens, and to connect with forces greater than themselves. This shared architectural language of geometry, astronomy, and sacred space seems to be written into our very nature. It is an innate human vocabulary that transcends all cultural boundaries. In a modern world often defined by division, these silent stones speak a powerful message of connection. They remind us that the same ingenuity that raised the pyramids also erected the moai, that the same wonder that guided the builders of Stonehenge also inspired the architects of Tiwanaku. This is our collective inheritance. The stones challenge us to look past superficial differences and recognize the universal quest for meaning that has always defined humanity. Decoding this hidden language is not just an archaeological exercise, it is an act of fostering global kinship. By understanding the common threads that weave through our deepest past, we build bridges in our present. We begin to see ourselves not as separate tribes, but as branches of the same ancient tree, all reaching for the same sky. This perspective transforms how we view our history, and more importantly, how we envision our future. The legacy of the megaliths invites us to consider what we might build together next, a question that will guide our explorations in the time to come. Our journey does not end with the stones we have already found. The greatest chapters of this story may lie beneath the waves or hidden deep within the Earth's forgotten corners. Scattered across the ocean floor, from the enigmatic structures off the coast of Japan to the sunken formations near Cuba, underwater megaliths guard their secrets in the silent dark. Were these once coastal temples, lost to rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age? Or do they point to a maritime network far more extensive than we have ever dared to believe? The true scale of this global web remains a tantalizing unknown. Could there be a megalithic site perfectly preserved, waiting beneath the sands of the Sahara or the ice of Antarctica? The puzzle is far from complete. To find the missing pieces, we are turning to tools that sound like science fiction. Deep-sea submersibles equipped with sonar mapping systems are now scanning the abyssal plains, while satellites in orbit use advanced imaging to detect subtle geological anomalies that might signal a hidden structure. These are not just searches for individual sites, they are attempts to map the entire nervous system of an ancient world. The identities of the master builders themselves remain just out of reach. Were they a specialized class of astronomer priests, or was this knowledge common to entire communities? How did they communicate their complex blueprints across generations without a written language? Some researchers even speculate about the use of forgotten technologies, not in a fantastical sense, but perhaps a sophisticated understanding of acoustics or earth energies that we are only beginning to rediscover. The next great leap in understanding may come from the digital realm. Artificial intelligence can now scan thousands of satellite images, searching for patterns and alignments invisible to the human eye. Quantum sensors, capable of detecting the faintest variations in magnetic fields or gravitational pull, might one day allow us to read the energy signatures of these sites as clearly as a map. This is no longer a solitary pursuit. The quest to decode the megalithic language is becoming a collective human endeavor. Professional archaeologists work alongside citizen scientists who scour satellite imagery from their home computers. Every new photograph from a drone, every curious alignment spotted on a hiking trip, becomes a potential data point in a global investigation. The enigma of the megaliths is a gift that keeps on giving, a perpetual source of wonder that pushes the boundaries of our knowledge. So, as we bring our exploration to a close, let us gather the central threads of this incredible mystery, the key insights that bind this ancient puzzle into a single, breathtaking picture. These silent stones scattered across the globe form a single, coherent message. From the celestial alignments of Stonehenge to the geometric perfection of the Great Pyramid, and from the shared symbols etched in tombs to the universal principles of sacred architecture, we have traced the outlines of a hidden code. This was not a random collection of monuments, but a unified language spoken in stone, revealing a deep, interconnected knowledge that challenges any isolated view of our past. The debate between a single lost source and the independent spark of human genius may never be fully settled, yet the sheer weight of the evidence compels us to reconsider the very roots of civilization. It suggests a world far more connected in deep antiquity than our textbooks have led us to believe, a world where profound ideas about the cosmos and our place within it were a common human inheritance. These structures stand as the ultimate testament to our capacity for collective achievement, proving that when humanity is united by a shared vision, we can create works that endure for millennia. Let these ancient stones inspire you to look deeper into the past, not as a collection of separate cultures, but as chapters in a single, grand human story. Reflect on the ingenuity and spiritual yearning that unite us as a species, a legacy written not on paper, but on the landscape of the earth itself. If this journey into the megalithic code has sparked your curiosity, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share which connection you found most compelling, and subscribe to join us on more adventures into history's greatest mysteries. Together, we can continue decoding the secrets of our shared heritage, one stone at a time.